Okay, so let's just get right into it. The clock is absolutely ticking, that big exam is staring you down, and you can feel that wave of panic starting to build. Your stomach's in a knot, right? Your notes suddenly look like they're in a different language. We've all been there. But what if I told you that these next 24 hours could be the most productive you've ever had? Not through chaos, but with a calm, strategic plan. What if you could actually walk into that exam feeling ready, feeling confident, even with time running out? Well, that's the plan we're going to build right now. So the exam's tomorrow. And for most of us, our gut reaction is to hit the big red panic button. You know the drill. Grab the biggest coffee you can find and just resign yourself to an all-nighter. The plan is to just force-feed information into your brain until it's overflowing. It's that classic last-ditch cram session. But we really need to stop and ask ourselves, does that actually work? Or are we just going through the motions, making ourselves feel busy while we're actually just burning out right before the finish line?
And this is really the core of it all, the difference between working hard and working smart. On the left, you've got chaotic cramming. That's our default mode when we're under pressure. It's all about all-nighters, just rereading your notes over and over, super high stress, and you end up forgetting things faster. But on the right, that's our goal, strategic studying. This is about having a real plan, using powerful techniques, staying calm, and actually holding on to what you learn. It's about being a surgeon, not a sledgehammer.
So let's get into why that classic cramming, what researchers call massed practice, is just such a losing game. Picture your brain having two areas, a tiny little workbench for stuff you're working on right now, and a giant library for long-term storage. When you cram, you're just throwing a huge, messy pile of books onto that tiny workbench. It gets overloaded, things fall off, and nothing gets properly filed away in the library. Your brain just doesn't have time to connect the dots or move that knowledge where you can actually use it during the exam. It's like trying to fill a water bottle with a fire hose. It's just messy and totally inefficient. You know, this quote from the University of Waterloo just nails it. We're not pretending that this is the best way to learn. We're in an emergency situation. But think about it. Even in an emergency, first responders have a protocol. They have a plan to be as effective as possible under massive pressure. So that's how we're going to treat this. This isn't about desperation. It's about using a clear, effective emergency plan for your brain. So here's our mission map to get you from panic to prepared. We've already looked at the cramming trap. Next, we're going to lay out your 24-hour game plan. Then we'll break that down into two key phases. Phase 1 is all about prioritizing and activating, and Phase 2 is about consolidating and executing. After that, we'll talk about how to level up your learning so you can avoid this whole situation next time, and we'll wrap up with your final mission briefing to lock it all in. All right, let's get to the heart of our strategy. To keep this super simple and easy to remember when you're stressed, we're going to use the PACE method. P.A.C.E. Just think of it as setting the pace for a great exam. This isn't just a random list of tips. It's a 4-step sequence, a game plan designed specifically for this kind of high-pressure situation. Every step builds on the last one to turn that chaos into focused, effective action. First step, P, is for prioritize. Now, this is maybe the most important step of all, and you have to get your head in the right space for it. With only 24 hours, you cannot learn everything. Let me say that again because it's so important to accept. You can't learn everything. And you know what? That's totally okay. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to get the most points possible. So we have to get ruthless. We're going to find that 20% of the material that's likely to be worth 80% of the marks and hit that hard. Next, A is for activate. This is where we completely change how you're studying. Most people cram by just rereading their notes, staring at the pages, hoping it all just sinks in through osmosis. That's a huge waste of time. Instead, we are going to activate your brain using active recall. This means you have to force your brain to pull information out, not just passively watch it go by. Think of it like this. Watching a workout video isn't the same as actually doing the workout. One is just watching, the other is what actually builds the muscle. Then comes C, for consolidate. And look, this might sound completely backwards, but it's probably the most powerful step here. We are going to use rest, and yes, I mean actual sleep, to lock in your learning. That all-nighter, it's your worst enemy. Sleep isn't just downtime, it's when your brain is hard at work, filing away everything you just studied. Skipping sleep is like spending hours writing an amazing paper and then just shutting your laptop without ever hitting save. And finally, E is for execute. Your work isn't done when you close the book for the night. The morning of the exam is the final phase of the mission. How you handle those last few hours makes a massive difference.
So we're going to build a simple routine to make sure your brain and body are primed, calm, and ready to go when that test is put in front of you. It's all about crossing that finish line strong. Okay, let's put this into action. Welcome to phase 1. This is where we get tactical. We're going to combine that ruthless prioritizing with brain-activating study sprints. This is going to be your blueprint for the afternoon and evening leading up to the exam. So how do we prioritize? First, grab any notes you might have missed. Easy. Then put on your detective hat. What did your instructor spend the most time on in class? What concepts kept popping up over and over? Those are your high-value targets. Next, be honest with yourself. Of those important topics, which ones are you weakest in? Go after your weaknesses first. Don't waste precious time on stuff you already know. And finally, give yourself some structure. A simple schedule like 45 minutes of focused work and then a 5-minute break keeps your brain fresh. And remember, the big goal here, the huge mental shift we're making, is to get away from passive rereading. It feels productive, it feels comfortable, but it's a trap. It gives you a false sense of confidence. We want to do active recall. It's going to feel harder, and that's a good thing. That difficulty is the feeling of your brain actually building stronger connections. You're not just recognizing information anymore, you're building the mental pathways to retrieve it when you need it. So, what's the first tool in our active recall toolbox? The amazing Feynman Technique. It's super simple. 1. Pick a concept from your priority list. 2. Pretend you're explaining it to someone who has no idea what you're talking about, like a little kid. You can say it out loud to yourself or even record a voice note. 3. And this is the magic part. Pay attention to where you get stuck, where you stumble, or where you have to use a bunch of jargon. Those are your knowledge gaps, perfectly lit up for you. That's pure gold. And 4, go back to your notes, fill in just that gap, and try explaining it again until it's super simple and clear. Need something even faster? Try blurting. It's pretty much what it sounds like. Pick a topic, grab a blank piece of paper, set a timer for like 5 minutes, and just go. Write down everything and anything you can remember about that topic. Don't worry about making it neat or organized. It's supposed to be messy. It's a total brain dump. Then, when the timer's up, grab a different colored pen and compare your notes to the real material. You'll see instantly what you know cold and what you're fuzzy on. It's an amazing way to diagnose your problem areas super fast. All right, you've put in the focus work, you've prioritized, you've activated. Now we shift into phase 2, consolidate and execute. This is all about protecting your investment. We need to make sure all that information you just worked so hard on actually sticks around. And then we got to get you ready mentally and physically for game day. Don't let all your hard work go to waste in these last few hours. Let's be crystal clear on this. As study expert Jun Yoo-hae says, don't pull an all-nighter. It's so ineffective. I know it's tempting. It feels like you're being a hero, sacrificing sleep for success. But in reality, you're just sabotaging your own brain. A sleep-deprived brain can't think clearly, it can't solve problems, and it definitely can't access memories very well, which are, the exact things you need to do on an exam. Sleep is not a luxury here. It is a critical study tool. When you're asleep, your brain is actually busy at work. It's strengthening all those new connections you just made. It's moving information into long-term storage. When you skip sleep, your brain power just tanks, and your anxiety shoots through the roof. A terrible combo for test day. So please aim for at least 5 hours. I promise you, a well-rested brain that knows 80% of the material is way, way better than an exhausted, foggy brain that is sort of glanced at 100%. Okay, game day morning. Here's your execution plan. First, fuel your brain with a good breakfast. Something like oatmeal, eggs, avocado. You want slow-release energy, not a sugar crash. Get to the test center a little early so you're not rushing. And this is a big one. Avoid those last-minute panicked conversations with other students. They just create doubt. If you start to feel nervous, just do some deep breathing. A slow 4-second inhale, hold for 4, and a long 6-second exhale. It's a physiological signal to your body to calm down. And finally, keep that positive mindset. You didn't just cram. You had a strategy. Trust it. So, we have handled the emergency, but let's take a quick second to talk about how to prevent this from happening again. Once this exam is behind you, you can start building some real systems that make learning more effective and a whole lot less stressful for the long haul. Now, if you really want to dive deep and build a powerhouse memory, you have to check out these 2 books by Lynn Kelly. Memory Craft is a super practical guide to ancient techniques like the memory palace. It gives you a real system for organizing and remembering tons of information. It's a complete game changer. And her other book, The Knowledge Gene, is so cool because it explores why these methods work so well. It really changes the way you think about what learning and memory even are. All right, it is time for your final mission briefing. We've gone from the chaos of cramming to a step-by-step plan for success. So let's boil this entire 24-hour game plan down into one clear final summary. This is what you need to carry with you. Here it is one last time, your P.A.C.E. method. P is for prioritize, be strategic, focus on the big topics and your weaknesses. You can't do it all, so do what matters. A is for activate. Get your brain in the game, use active recall techniques, not passive reading. C is for consolidate, sleep. It is non-negotiable. Get at least 5 hours to lock in those memories. And E is for execute. Follow your calm, simple morning routine so you can perform at your best. Look, you are no longer just reacting to pressure. You have a clear, effective strategy. You have a mission. You know what to do, and just as important, you know what not to do. The next 24 hours aren't about panic anymore. They're about focus. This is your playbook. So take a deep breath. You've got this. The only question left is, are you ready to execute?
Thanks for watching. You can find a list of books and other resources from this video in the description below. We earn a small affiliate fee when you buy through these links.